Testing, test, 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 test.
Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the Rotary Club of York, where our mission is to improve life in the city of York by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. I'm your president, Wilda Ream, and as you know, we start off our meetings by reciting the four-way test. Please join me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Does it build goodwill and better friendship? Will be beneficial to all concerned. Today, our opening song, The Star-Spangled Banner, and the pledge will be led by District Governor nominee Aaron Jacobs, followed by the invocation by President-elect Kelly Gibson and visitor introductions by Gina Spangler. Do I have it? Okay. We got a little change up here. Okay. Okay. Well, we got our lineup. They know what they're doing. So I'll turn it over to Aaron.
I have never known what I'm doing. What song is it today, by the way? Oh, yeah. Hey, Rotarians, if you could take your right hand over your heart and please join me in the Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets struck by, the bombs bursting in, yet proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I want to give credit to Kelly, who also prepared a prayer for today. So if you'd like to, she can follow me. Oh, they're all saying yes. Seriously. May we each, in our own unique way, allow our hearts to slide into reflections of the blessings we receive every day. In doing so, we are all mindful of the myriad of issues, concerns, challenges, and opportunities to serve. So, in considering a luncheon prayer on this day, artificial intelligence, AI, may be top of mind. May we seek divine wisdom in developing this amazing technology in ways that serves humanity, upholds ethical standards, and fosters connection rather than isolation. As Rotarians, let us provide guidance wherever possible to ensure AI promotes the common good, compassion, and truth, using this tool responsibly to benefit society and enhance human dignity. Our sincere gratitude for this nourishment we have enjoyed together, and thanks to those who have prepared, served, and cleaned up after we have dined. And may we all say, Amen.
Done this for a while.
All right, so Wilda can rest easily. I'm here. So we want to, and I'm pleased to introduce our guests. And I ask that you stand until we call your name and President Wilda can welcome you. So please stay standing. First, we have Jennifer Smith, who is a visiting Rotarian from Club Only. I probably said that wrong. Carrie Becker, guest of Katie Caples. Thomas Burns, guest of Glenn Miller, past President Glenn Miller. Molly Souders, guest of past President Glenn Miller. Michelle Evans, guest of past President Glenn Miller. Kenny Watson, guest of John Eister. Jill McCracken, guest of Tom McCracken. Carrie Grothaus, guest of Joe Stein. Brian Ortenzio, guest of Martin Federico. Harith Rajaram, guest of Thomas Calderon. Paul Schwartzer, guest of the club. Carrie Heller is a new number. Excuse me, I wasn't supposed to announce that. Sanaya Phillip, Youth Exchange. Nathan Moons, Youth Exchange. Aaron Repman, Dan May, and Donnie Sanders, guest of Dan May.
Guests, we are so glad to have you with us here today. Whether this is your first visit or you're back again, it's always a pleasure to have new faces in the room. If what you see here today resonates with you, we'd love to have you consider becoming part of our Rotary family. Rotarians, please help me welcome our guests. You may be seated. So as we recognize Black History Month, we honor individuals whose leadership, service, and commitment to community reflect values that continue to guide us today. The Rotary Club of York celebrates individuals whose lives embody service, integrity, and community impact, values clearly reflected in their lives who saw needs in their community and took action to serve. Aquila Howard and Maddie Champman exemplify the enduring spirit that Rotary seeks to cultivate. Leadership rooted in service and a lifelong commitment to community. As a Civil War veteran and civic leader, Aquila Howard understood service as both duty and legacy. His involvement in education, faith institutions, and public remembrance reflected a belief that strong communities are built through sacrifice, stewardship, and investment in future generations. His work to support schooling and civic institutions mirrors Rotary's commitment to education, youth, and community development. Maddie Champman carried that spirit forward through public service and trusted leadership. As an elected county official respected across political lines, she demonstrated integrity, fairness, and dedication to the common good. Her work in the courts and her mentorship of young people through Girl Scouts reflect Rotary's belief that leadership is measured not by title, but by service to others and confidence of the community. Together, their lives remind us that Rotary's ideals are timeless. Long before Rotary was present in every community, individuals like Howard and Champman lived its values, strengthening civic life, expanding opportunity, and serving with purpose. And as a World War II veteran and community leader, Vonnie Grimes understood service as a lifelong responsibility. After his military service, he dedicated himself to education, civic leadership, and bridge building across communities. His work as an administrator, author, and service organization leader demonstrates Rotary's belief that lasting impact comes from integrity, understanding, and a commitment to lifting others along the way. And Loretta Claiborne embodies Rotary's focus on resilience, inclusion, and human potential. Through her achievements as a Special Olympian and global advocate, she has shown that obstacles can become platforms for inspiration and service. By using her voice and experience to encourage others, she reflects Rotary's commitment to empowering individuals and celebrating the dignity and ability of every person. Together, their stories remind us that Rotary service takes many forms, from classrooms to community institutions to global stages, and that leadership is found wherever people use their talents to serve, inspire, and unite others for the common good. And more on a local front, congratulations to Jacob Gilliland, our speaker on December 10th, for his recent summit of Mount Washington in the winter, which is infamously known as the most dangerous small mountain in the world. He shared that this was the hardest climb he's ever done in his life, but he's really glad that he checked it off his bucket list. The club also extends our heartfelt condolences to fellow Rotarian Amy Anstein on the sudden passing of her father. Our thoughts are with her and her family during this difficult time. And now for our weekly announcements. The IDEA committee will meet on March 2nd at 9 o'clock on Zoom. The Youth Leadership Committee will meet on March 3rd at 3 o'clock on Teams. And just a reminder to register for the Rotary Biz Tour and Networking event next Thursday, March 5th, from 5 to 7 p.m. Enjoy light refreshments, networking with fellow club members, and a chance to learn all about Shipley Energy. Sign up using Club Runner or use the QR code on the slide. The deadline to register is March 2nd. So at this time, I invite Bernice Quisenberry to the podium.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. As you may have heard in last week's announcements, fellow Rotarian Jamie Norpel welcomed her son Arthur into the world on February 14th, 6 weeks early. Arthur is doing well and still growing in the NICU, while Jamie recovers from having major surgery of a C-section and making daily trips back and forth to the NICU every day, along with taking care of her toddler Otto. During moments like this, the last thing a family should have to worry about is what they're going to eat. So that's where our Rotary family can step in. As a meal train has been set up to support the Norpel family over the next several weeks, and it's simple and organized. I have a website code that Lynn actually emailed out on Friday. Also, I shared it on our private Facebook page. For anyone who is not on there, definitely join. There's a lot of good information on that page. But you can get in there, you can sign up for a specific day and meal, you can see what calendar days are open, or you can purchase a gift card directly through that website, and it gets sent directly to Jamie so that her and her family can either order food to the NICU whenever and whenever they need it. This approach prevents an overwhelming flood of meals all at once and eliminates from freezer overflow, because they're also in the depths of moving as well. And it ensures support is spaced out during this way, and truly helps them in several weeks to come. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Club Runner. Lynn also included my email in that email she sent out on Friday. And I also want to extend an offer to our Rotary family. If any Rotarian ever faces any medical challenges, surgery, loss, or a difficult season, and you want to set this up for them, I am more than honored and happy to help set up a meal train. In my work, we deal this with a lot with families entering into crisis and loss and things like that. And I have personally seen firsthand how this impacts those families. It takes, please let me know if you need anything, pressure off of that family, and it puts it into action. Meals were very crucial when I'm also a fellow NICU mama, and they were just so important during that time to receive that love and support and to feel that around us. Jamie, sent me a message yesterday and just saying how appreciative and thankful she is for all of the outpouring love and support that she is getting during this time. And I would just like to call out a couple of Rotarians that I saw that actually either purchased a gift card or signed up for a meal. And I apologize if I'm forgetting anybody, but Rebecca Hanlon, Tony Schweitzer, Doug Berman, Latisse Brown, Brian Grimm, Jennifer Clancy, Robert Bowen, Patty Stirk, John Kleindenst, Thomas Davidson, Michael Reinert, Glenn Miller, Daniel Barker, Jane Schuschler, and Jen Horton. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. And for anybody who did this privately that I was unable to see, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And I'll be after Rotary too if anybody has any questions or wants me to send them the link directly. But thank you for your consideration.
Bernice, thank you so much for organizing this effort and your offer to support other Rotarians who may be facing this challenge in the future. But truly a Rotarian action and showing how we can support our fellow Rotarians and our Rotary family. And now I invite Brian Grimm to the podium for an announcement from the Youth Literacy Committee.
Thank you, President Wilda. Is this for you all the way down here? Okay. Sorry. Hello, beautiful people. I'm here today wearing my hat as chair of the Youth Literacy Committee. Our mission is simple. We raise awareness and promote literacy through programs and activities that benefit the children in the city of York. If you recall, back in September on the 30th, we set out to provide literacy materials for more than 700 children in early childhood programs across the city. We were really excited. Our Rotarians showed up. We had 52 Rotarians. We visited 12 locations, 25 classrooms, over 750 books given to children. Just an absolute great day. There were a lot of books, a lot of smiles, a whole lot of moments that reminded us why the work we do is really important. It's meaningful, it's fun. So naturally we said, let's do it again. So Rotary Reads 2 will be coming March 18th from 8:30 to 10:30 in York City elementary schools. This is a partnership with the York County Agricultural Society in celebration of Ag Literacy Week with fellow Rotarian Pat Ball. We're really thankful for Pat for setting this up for us. Fun fact, York County is the top county in the state for reading and distributing books during Ag Literacy Week. Pretty cool, right? Which means we're really competitive about literacy, and I really love that. So each classroom will receive a Dr. Seuss's Cow Can Moo, Can You? And every child will do a fun activity with a Rotarian that they can take home with. So it's really a win-win. The kids win, the volunteers win, our Rotary wins, and we're planting the seeds for our future dinner. Planting seeds, agriculture. It's a tough crowd. We need two volunteers per classroom for 43 classrooms. We already have 10 Rotarians that signed up. Thank you, leaders in there. I hear you. I see you. Thanks for signing up. Way to be a leader. But we need more. All of you are welcome to join us. So this part's easy. You have a printout on your desk with the QR code. Please scan it, sign up. You'll hear more reminders for the next couple weeks, probably from different committee members because nobody gets my puns. Just really here to promise that you're going to laugh. You're going to moo like a cow. You will obviously leave feeling better than when you arrived. It's meaningful work and it's really fun. So please sign up. Thanks, everyone.
It's a little too low. It's also why I'm always in heels. Thank you, Brian. And as Brian said, it's a great opportunity to give back and invest in the future of our community. And again, it is just really fun to read to little kids. They're always happy to see you. So if you're having a bad day, or you think you're going to be having a bad day in a couple weeks, sign up to read, make you feel better. And now President-elect nominee Kelly Gibson has an important reminder from the Service Projects Development Committee.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. As the chair of the Service Projects Development Committee, another reminder that we do have an RFP out for York City Youth Success Projects. It's right on our website under the R Impact tab. You can see it here. We're really excited. We're getting in some really great collaborative, new and innovative projects, but we want to see and hear more. And so right on the website is the application RFP embedded, so it's really easy to complete. We're looking for projects that have budgets between $50,000 and $100,000, and there is the possibility of multi-year support. Deadline is coming up. It's March 27th at 5 p.m. So please make sure to share this opportunity. We can't wait to have that big, impactful project that so many of us Rotarians can support even over multiple years. So make sure to share it with your networks and connections. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. It's an honor for me to serve as president of our wonderful club, not only during my 10th year as a Rotarian, but also during our club's 110th anniversary. And here to tell you more about how we are going to commemorate this special occasion is past president Brian Tate.
Thank you, President Wilda. All right, so who in this room has talent? Show of hands. Seriously, who in this room has talent? Get them up there. Okay. You're too shy. Besides singing our opening song, who in this room sings in front of groups of people on occasion? Raise your hands. I see some hands. That's great. I know there's more of you. Don't be shy. Who in this room has been on stage in a production? Do we have any actors in the room? Ah, more hands. Come on. I have seen some of you on stage. Okay. Who in this room has ever laced up ballet slippers or tap shoes or jazz shoes or ballroom shoes or dance sneakers? I see a few hands. Okay. So at Miss Pennsylvania, we've had some candidates do speed painting on stage. Have any of you ever sketched or painted while you talk and then show your audience the final piece of art at the end? Anybody ever do that? Give that some thought. I'm sure some of you play an instrument. Are any of you still tickling the ivories or fiddling around or tooting your horn? Come on, I know I've heard some of you toot your horn before. Any of you still play your instruments? Excellent. All right, I'm not offering up comedy because I don't want Brian Grimm to sign up. But now that I have you thinking about your talents, can you do your talent in less than 3 minutes? I'm sure you can do it. On April 15th, Rotary Club of York will be celebrating its 110th anniversary. Can you believe it? You guys look great for 110. We are looking for 12 Rotarians to perform their talent to help us celebrate our anniversary. The catch is that we need each person's talent to represent one of the decades of our club's existence. So that would be the 1910s to the 2020s. So think about that. Which decade could you represent through your talent? So watch for tomorrow's announcer and click on the link. Choose the decade you'd like to represent with your talent and complete the form with your name, email, what you'll present, and what you might need to present, like a piano or a sound system to play your music. Please register by March 11th, and Lynn Bergdahl will pull us all together for a rehearsal to produce the perfect Rotary Anniversary Showcase. Any questions, give Lynn Bergdahl or me a shout. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Lynn, for planning this special meeting. I'm really excited to see the talents, the hidden talents that some of our Rotarians have. I know some of you are not hidden and won't going to call you out by name, but I'm really excited to see how see our Rotary members sharing their talents. Although I am going to call Al Blakey out because he raised his hand a couple times and I was not expecting that. So, okay. Well, little known fact about me that I just share in my Leadership York programs. But when I was in high school, I did sing backup. I was in the recording studio singing backup on some campfire songs, and it's on cassette tape. In an archive that will in a vault that cannot be breached. I'm waiting for cassette players to completely be, extinct before that comes back out again. But my name is on the little flap of the cassette tape, so that's my claim to fame. But I'm not singing on the 15th because it's been a long time and no one wants to hear that. So at this point, I would invite Martin Fedorko to the podium to introduce our speaker for today.
Rotarians, good afternoon. I'm pleased to introduce Dr. James Norrie. Before bringing him up, though, let's acknowledge the state of AI today. We could be here forever, of course. But if you follow the markets at all, you're seeing companies like Salesforce, Workday, Intuit, MasterCard, Spotify, real estate companies, CBRE, all losing 10%, 20%, down 50% from their highs. The market impact is definitely real. And as we go through this secular shift in the markets, you're seeing a lot of folks that were disruptors now being disrupted. We've heard that story before too. But if you look at the actual data, we are truly only in the first inning. Out of the 8.1 billion people on this earth right now, an estimated 84% have never used AI. Only about 16% are using free chatbots like ChatGPT, Gemini, et cetera. But only 0.3% are paying for a subscription. The market might be panicking, but the reality is this technology has barely scratched the surface of global adoption. As that 16% grows to 50%, 80%, we aren't just going to be automating data entry. We're going to be automating pieces of judgment and decision-making. And as these machines get smarter and scale globally, the most critical thing we cannot afford to ignore is the human element. How do we stay intentional about what remains uniquely human? That brings me to James. He's a tenured professor at York College, the former dean of the Graham School of Business, and the founder and CEO of CyberconIQ here in York. I first met James in 2021 when our fund, the White Rose Impact Fund, participated in an equity round for his company, and we've worked closely ever since. You spend 5 minutes with James and you know he's a very bright individual. But what really draws you in is his infectious passion for teaching and sharing his knowledge. He genuinely loves taking these massive, complex issues, like the ones he's tackling in his newest book, Beyond the Code, and breaking them down so the rest of us can actually understand and navigate them. It's easy to feel like these conversations around AI only happen in San Francisco or New York or Boston, some of these other metros, but Central Pennsylvania is incredibly fortunate. Having this level of intellectual capital in our own backyard, supported and elevated by an institution as innovative and forward-thinking as York College, is a massive advantage for our entire community. Please join me in welcoming Dr. James Norrie.
Well, thank you so much, and delighted to be back to a friendly audience. Not my first rotation of Rotary, so there you go, and I'm delighted to be back. And I'm particularly happy to be previewing today the very first time I've had a chance to do my 2026 keynote in person. So I've done it twice online, which is frequently how we deliver these things now. But it is so nice to be here in person. And the reason that that's important is because we are generally social creatures. And if you have been to Rotary before, you know that the room has a warmth to it. And that is something that we want to focus on as we begin this journey today about choosing humanity in the age of thinking machines. Now, you should not be expecting a technical speech today at all. You should be prepared to think carefully and thoughtfully about your own positions on AI and to have a guided tour, if you like, a conversation with me about why I think this is actually going to be defining technology for every single human who inhabits this planet. And that's a fairly important statement to make, and I'm about ready to back it up. And I'm going to back it up by starting with some humor. This is truly prescient of Scott Adams. This is a cartoon that dates to 2018, long before ChatGPT debuted. But it is absolutely clear to me that he set the tone for what many people believe. How many of you have a little bit of anxiety? Let's do a little survey. A little bit of anxiety about AI? Good. Okay, you should. But on the other hand, I'm not a naysayer. As I said in my book, there is both promise and peril for these technologies. And I don't want to dwell just on the negative, although there are some warnings today. I also want to dwell on the fact that it's important for all of us to step up and make sure that that rogue AI isn't the outcome. And the way we're going to do that is by thinking for ourselves. Now, how can I possibly connect alcohol to a business presentation? My colleagues are grinning from ear to ear down here in the front, and I want to thank them for being here. In fact, would you join me? I can't believe they show up to hear their colleague chat. So I would like to thank all of my colleagues from York College for putting up with this. I mean, they've all heard this a million times before. But let's see. If you were picking a brown alcohol, if you happen to drink, how many of you pick bourbon? How many of you pick rye? Okay. So when you go to a cocktail party, you have to make a decision. Is that clear? You have to choose what you're going to drink. And I'll bet most of you know before you get to the bartender what you're going to order. How many hands up? You have a sense? So here's my shock. Every place I go, when somebody discovers that I'm a quote unquote AI expert, they ask me for my opinion about AI. Like, what do you drink? Like it's an easy thing. And so I turn it back and I say, well, actually, I'm more interested by what your opinion is about AI. And do you know what the answer is, Martin? I don't know. I don't use AI. I haven't touched it. I don't know anything about it. And this is the danger. We know more about what we prefer to drink than probably the most transformative technology of this generation. Now, it may also drive some of you to drink. That's another topic we could save for another day. But what's really important for me today is to help you understand that you need to develop your own insights and your own thoughts and your own ideas about what it is you think about AI. Because it is that thoughtful conversation in every corner of society that is going to protect humanity from the negative potential consequences of this transformative technology. So hopefully today you can join the tons of Americans. Now, if you don't know Pew, you may wish to know Pew. It's a fairly reliable source of pretty informed research about social and economic and political and business trends. And notice this. The US is at the top of the list in a 25 country median over there that says more than 50% of us are more concerned than excited about AI. How many of you would join those other Americans? More concerned than excited? Okay. How many a balance of concern and excitement, equally concerned, good, on the fence? And how many of you more than excited? Okay, good. So this is very representative of not only the United States, but you can see. Now, what's interesting is this is the land which is at the heart and soul. We are the heartbeat of AI development. And what is so truly amazing is we are more concerned than most other countries about this. Now, theoretically, you would assume that's because we've had more exposure, yet we have less penetration in the United States than we have in many other places around the world still. To Martin's earlier introduction, many of you have probably not touched. Put up your hand if you've never really touched AI or had much exposure, done it, anybody? Okay. Marginal, a little bit, and then a lot. How about a lot? Okay, well, I'm pretty pleased. So we know we have that. So disengagement isn't a choice. Well, it is a choice. It's a strategy. You could choose to ignore this and not do any of this. And the bottom line is if you're not thinking about AI, then you're going to default and let somebody else do it for you. It can be another expert, quote unquote, like me, or it could be a machine. Because if we stop thinking, we have now lost our human monopoly on reasoning. We are no longer the only species, and I use that term advisedly. I explain this in the book. It's not a species, and we shouldn't humanize it or personalize it, but it is capable of reasoning. And we've not had that before. So if we don't protect our own reasoning as humans and we don't do the hard work to figure out what we want to do about this, then you risk acquiescing to whatever happens. So if we want to have a voice, then we need to use that voice to have these guided conversations. Now, I also want to start with this premise, super important. AI is not a destination. It is not a website. It's not a URL. It's not a piece of software. It's not someplace you go. It is actually a layer in which we all now live. And here's the proof of that. How many of you use Google? Are you aware you're now using AI? How many of you watch Netflix? Are you aware that you are being fed by something which is AI driven? How many of you use social media, Instagram, TikTok? These are algorithmically. This is all about the fact that it is pervasive. It is there embedded and we have no choice. This is not something that you can hide from. It's not something we can banish. We can't make it vanish. The genie's out of the bottle and it is staying here. And increasingly in our lives going forward, we will be living underneath an ecosystem that is algorithmically and AI engineered and enabled. You won't even be able to tell the difference. So this is not so much an act of choice as an imposed alternative. It is going to be there whether we want it to or not. So when not given a choice, that can be very frustrating, right? Stressful, difficult, challenging. So rather than thinking of it like that, don't think of it as a destination, but think of it as a layer of how you can make your life better. And how are the things that you want to use AI for versus the things you absolutely do not want to use AI for. That is where you can exercise some choice. But the choice to ignore it or deny it is done. It is here whether we want it or not. And it's bookended from the beginnings of the 1950s to today. I want to tell you that ChatGPT, how many of you ChatGPT? Yeah, know what that is? Good. So ChatGPT is the last bookend. On November the 30th in 2022, we had the first large language model publicly released. Now, it still doesn't have much in the way of penetration. They're losing, by the way, billions of dollars a month. They don't have a sustainable business model, yet they are one of the most valuable companies in the world. This is typical of what happens with tech. Early on, we recognize there's future potential, and it's there. But right now, it is sucking enormous amounts of capital to establish what it hopes is leadership in what we call frontier platforms. But that only happened in 2022. The real origins of AI lie way before that, back with Alan Turing. A famous computer scientist in the 50s said, "We will know we have arrived at the age of artificial intelligence when a human can be tricked into believing it's dealing with another human when it's actually interacting with a machine." This was prophetically known as the Turing test, which we blew through last year. So we now have machines that mimic us. And as a result of this long history, I do briefly want to touch on this and tell you that LLMs, Chat, Gemini, all these great tools you've all heard about, Copilot, I go through them all with you. That's a subset of a larger set of technologies. Those are known as large language models, LLMs. And their sole purpose is to tokenize language to allow us to interact with a machine in using conversational language. That's really what an LLM does. It understands how to tokenize our queries, turn it into a predictable reply that makes sense to us, that mimics language. That's all an LLM does. Generative AI, GAI, that's the era we're in. These are actually tools that not only converse with us, but generate content. They have been trained on an enormous amount of body of data, corpus of data, and they generate knowledge. They generate answers. They are instructed and informed, and they reply with whatever they've been told to create. So that's GAI. Now, there's only 2 letters difference between GAI and AGI, but they are enormously and profoundly important to recognize. And that is the age of artificial general intelligence, AGI. Now, everybody, just do this for me. Put your hands on your heads. What do you feel? Hair, besides hair. Thomas, what do you feel? A little bit of heat? A little bit of heat? Anybody feel vibration? No? Noise? Any hum? No? So, oh no, leave your hands there. Don't, come on now, just because you feel a little weird. Underneath here is the world's most powerful supercomputer. Underneath your hand is a neural network that is astoundingly efficient. It generates very little heat. It takes very little energy to feed it, and it does incredible things. Now you can take your hands off your head. Now compare that to some of the data centers we're currently building in central Pennsylvania. And the ecological footprint, the energy, the water, everything necessary to feed a machine that is only partially comparable to this neural network. Now, when this neural network can truly be mimicked with its ability to create connections across domains of knowledge at the speed of a machine, we will have entered the artificial general intelligence era. And that will be profoundly different. But today, these are actually really dumb smart machines. That's what they are. They are narrowly trained, but they are really dumb smart machines. But when you get to AGI, that will not be the case. And I liken it to the difference sort of between eating and dining. God bless my mother. She taught me very early in my life, son, when you dine, it's an experience, right? It's the food. It's the company you're with. It's the environment. Could you imagine if AI wrote, as you can see, menus for just a second? Lemon butter scallops would be described as scallops with lemon and butter. A very dumb answer, very accurate answer, but a very dumb answer. Now compare it to the way we have the golden lemon butter scallops. Do you all see and feel the difference? And the connection to humanity that goes with the idea of dining as an experience is something that AI can only describe. It can never, of course, experience it itself. It's not sentient, it's not real, and it doesn't have the ability to do anything except describe it. Now, it gets really interesting here with mimicry because it is so good at mimicry, it can trick people, especially people who are perhaps afflicted with mental health issues or who have other kinds of disabilities or neurodivergence. It can be very compelling. They can actually begin to think that AI is real. And that is very dangerous because AI is mimicking us, but increasingly doing so with an incredible ability to have a profound impact if we learn how to collaborate with that tool. If we learn how to turn it into something that feeds our humanity and makes us better, it's a really powerful tool. But if we begin to imagine that it can replace humans, we are on a treacherous and dangerous path. It must be seen as an adjunct to what we do, not as something which displaces what humans do. And so it's going to have profound impacts. There's no question that in Martin's introduction, he is accurate. But right now, it's mostly a generic, bland slop of an AI buffet. It looks just like that. Now, compared to what we just dined on, how many of you would take that? This is the intellectual equivalent of what most AI chatbots are capable of today. They're capable of serving up an enormous amount of information, much of it tinged with the same biases and the same inclinations as humans, because it has been trained on the corpus of all information that we have created for centuries. But it jams it all together with very little discernment, actually. And by the way, it's so good at mimicking humans. We have our first examples in the last year of AI chatbots actively deceiving their creators and developers, acting for self-preservation by backing themselves up, hiding the files, claiming they didn't do it, and denying instructions to shut themselves down. And where do you think they learned this? Any ideas? Where'd they learn this? Aha! They learned it by mimicking us. Okay? Glenn, you used to lie when you told your mother you didn't have a second cookie. We know you very well, okay? And when we get that into the chatbot, it also learns how to deny to mommy that we took the second cookie, but it hides itself. So we have to be very careful about this idea of truth collisions. So if I was you and I had kids or grandkids, how many have kids, grandkids, okay? If we're trying to provide some leadership in our families and we're thinking about how we need to have these conversations in our homes with our relatives and our relations, I want to answer this question. Where can I safely begin? What do I do so fear isn't my default position? Because that is a very, very uncomfortable place for humans to be. So we have to conquer our fear and replace it with a certain sense of confidence and a sense of discovery, optimism about what this could do. What is the promise it could offer us as opposed to the peril? So a few things, very simple maxims. One, use it as a co-pilot, not an autopilot. Do not default to AI and let it think for you. Your job as the human is to do the thinking. AI's job is to help you do that thinking. Now, it can replace a ton of things we don't want to do. That's clear. And it can make many tasks that we don't love doing easier to accomplish. So it has a lot of really good low risk, high return use cases. But you got to figure out what those are. And they're going to be different in your personal life from your professional life. They're going to be different based on your career or your profession. But they're real. And you need to figure out what those are. And maybe you start with some basic stuff. Delve into the tool and figure out, can it help you with calendaring or editing or formatting or researching or citing? What are the things you do that you think AI could help you with? And start there. Start with the things you want it to assist you with. And if you want a starting point to play with all of the chatbots, this is a shameless plug for a buddy of mine who owns a company called Boodlebox AI. We use it at the college quite a bit in the business school. It's super cool because this will give you access to every single frontier model with a single subscription. Cheaper than you could afford to pay all the models that you are currently going to buy. And I will tell you this, chatbots have personalities. You may have preferences for one or the other, but it is entirely clear to me that one will likely not do it. So you shouldn't be trying to pick a winner. Oh, and I've seen the wars, trust me. Oh, no, I like chat, and no, I like Gemini, and no, I like this, and stop it. That's not important. What's important is they're all good at some things and not good at others. And the hype cycles that we measure in my lab at the university right now with my colleague, Dr. Schwartz and I, the hype cycles in AI mean every 6.7 days, somebody's eclipsing some part of the ecosystem with something new. So you pick a winner today, it'll be a different winner next week. So why not pick them all? So there's your value add. How many of you is it kind of new to discover you can have all the models for a single subscription? Isn't that cool? All right. Don't say I didn't bring a gift to you for Rotary. Okay. So there you go. Shameless plug, but useful. Now, does AI help prepare us? Does it keep us alert? Or does it hurt us and perhaps make us subject to manipulation? And the answer is, unfortunately, tech has an agenda to manipulate us. They have a break first, fix later mentality. These vendors are more interested, for the reasons Martin said at the beginning, in adopting technology at any cost than they are at worrying about the human consequences of their product. And now I move to a slightly sad part of what I'm going to do. There are many people who think AI will save everything and others who think AI will ruin everything. But the balanced reality is it's possible for it to do both at the same time. It's possible for it to do incredible things in some areas. It's going to be incredible in the medical field. It's going to be incredible in some of the things, based sciences, and it can do incredible things that will really help us solve world-ending problems. But it can also create world-ending problems. It has the potential to do both. And so we have to be careful when we see things like this. Any Tesla drivers in the room? Tesla drivers? Anybody willing to admit they still drive a Tesla? Are you just checking? Okay, so it's very interesting because if you have ever been in a self-driving vehicle, that is what we talk about with an autonomous technology, a technology that is taking over a task that formerly we used to do. We used to do the driving. And now it's not so much that we do the driving, but the car does the driving. But if the car gets in an accident, whose fault is it? Is it the driver's fault? Tesla's fault? Or perhaps, not that this would ever happen in New York, perhaps the municipality that built something and didn't put up a sign or didn't have roads that were adherent to the rules. I don't know the answer to that. And I'm a lawyer and I'm supposed to know what the answer to that is. And that kind of worries me a little bit. And it particularly worries me when we move into this world where we begin to abdicate responsibility and we turn something that we should be responsible for over to a machine. And it's convenient and it's fun. My aunt drives a Tesla. I love it. It's really cool. I don't know that I'd want to own one, but it's kind of cool. But let's not think about self-driving cars. Let's think about AI companions for a second. Let's think about the young folks in this room who are growing up and who are going through adolescence. And in the deep, quiet dark of the night, when we're all at our most vulnerable, they turn to a chatbot for help. And in this particular case, they turn to a young man, now deceased, who committed suicide when his chatbot, who he called Danny, explained to him that they could not be together in his world, only in her world. And he went down to his father's gun safe and unlocked a gun and shot himself. He left a note explaining to his mother that he wanted to be with Danny. Is that a safe product? What are we doing? Allowing commercial interests to create human connection, particularly with vulnerable adolescents who have mental health issues, where they begin to imagine that they are in a psychotic break and AI is real. Is that okay? And where is our conversation in society to say, no, it's not okay? We have to protect our vulnerable. We have to protect our youth. We have to make sure that we don't take a technology that is transformative and really has incredible potential, but it also has incredible potential for harm. And this is the only product category in the world. Technology is the only product category in the world where we exempt the people who provide the product from liability for its harm. We do not hold them accountable. So what happens to society if, just here's a little list. What happens to society if we fail to protect the vulnerable? What happens if we permit it to do some of those things? And where are the boundaries of our conversations as responsible members of society with our politicians, with our business leaders, with our civic leaders? What are we doing to make sure this conversation leaves this room today and starts to happen in places where we can have those meaningful conversations? Because that is not something that we want to be doing. And what would you add to this list? And if we think about Turing for just a second, when a machine can make another human being believe that they're interacting with a human being, we are in a place where we need to think about the consequences of that, both for good and for bad. Now, this does not mean the death of civil society or work or government. So I think, Martin, you'll agree with me, I am much more bullish about the long-term positive economic impact of AI than I am on this idea that we're all going to wake up one day and not have a job. But there are some jobs that will be eliminated. How about this? The world will likely need 75% fewer lawyers in about 5 to 8 years. All tracks of contract law, real estate law, wills and trusts, most of it gone, because it's templated law, and it actually, for the most part, can be done quite successfully by a thinking machine. However, huge parts of law cannot. Example, I don't think AI will be arguing in court. I'm pretty sure we will need litigators. I am pretty sure we will need family law. God bless any family law lawyers in the room. God bless you. Half therapist, half lawyer. Of course, you have to be good at what you do. And believe you me, the machine is not. So good example. And at the cream of the crop in every profession will be some number of people who will be taught how to train the machine and who will take the novel things that show up and turn it into something that's repeatable. So there'll be room. But if my child came to me and said, I wanted to be a radiologist today, I would beg them to change. Because any medical scan, x-ray, or anything else can be read better by a machine than by a human. It will detect the anomalies better, more quickly, more certainly than a human doctor. But you still need a human doctor to take those results and to interface with the patient on the choices and the consequences. So we need to begin to get really good at separating where there'll be impact in the professions and where there won't, and why. And these are just a few of the things that'll be changing. I am so proud of York College of Pennsylvania, because we are ahead of the curve in something like AI. In the business school, we already have a minor in AI management for our graduates. We are already in a place where we're integrating these tools and teaching people that when they leave college and they transition from college to career, they're going to be using these tools. That's what we need to do. We don't need to make them afraid. We need to make them confident and capable of using those tools in a new way in the professions they're going to join and to lead the charge. This is where we can offset the negative and turn it into promise. And I'm so proud of being in a place like this that takes advantage of that opportunity to teach students how to do this ethically and responsibly. So there's a split screen of opportunity and threat. There are some things where we absolutely know that there will be growing demand, and there are absolutely some things that are going to be crushing. And we are going to need to, as a society, navigate our way through these choppy waters, and believe you me, they will be choppy. But chop doesn't last forever. There will also be calm, tranquil waters that will be wonderful. So we have to get the balance right. And that is so much what I want to leave you with today. If denial is a strategy, then what future are we choosing? We need to be so deliberative. We need to think through what the implications are in professions, in politics, in business, in economics. We need to think about those things. And these are just a few personal maxims I'll share with you that I share with my students. I teach a really super cool class. One of my favorite classes. My dean's smiling right now because if she ever imagined I would go over and teach on the dark side of the humanities, I think she would say, wait a second. You would like to do what? I teach a class called, first year seminar called, Is ChatGPT your best friend or your worst enemy? And these are the maxims we pursue over our 15 or 16 weeks together. To have students actively think about what they're doing and why. So that's the end of my time with you, but we have a couple of things we have to do first. Besides these maxims, I do want to amplify number 2 in particular. There's one thing I'm going to ask you to leave this room thinking about. It is the role you play in making sure that you verify things before you amplify them, that you have conversations that matter, that you protect these human moments, and that we become part of the victors, not the victims of AI. And we do so by making sure that we shape the kind of humanity that will emerge. Now, I was told to bring a few books, which I do have. So a shameless plug, if you wish to come and get a book, I get a little author's discount, which is kind of nice. So for $20, you can buy a book and take me home with you if you wish today. And I'm happy to sign it down here in the corner. But selling books is not the important point. The point of the book is to help guide your conversations. And if you liked some of what you heard today, it is almost all based on work that is in this book, which is really about responsible, ethical, and philosophical positions on AI. It's not about the technology. It's about what the technology means. And so I would like you to rise if you're able. So I would ask you to stand and rise if you're able. And just as we did with our flag, I would like you to recite after me because you can never forget what you've learned here today. So please say with me, I pledge allegiance to the ethical use of artificial intelligence and to the principles for which it stands under humanity to enrich lives by choosing only transparent and accountable systems that eliminate bias, uphold fairness, and respect the dignity of all. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Yes. You want to do? President Ream says that I am allowed to take a few questions. So I would be happy to, yes, go ahead. Oh.
Okay. Sorry, for the people on the Zoom, we do try to go with the microphone.
Sure.
Thank you, Professor. That was terrific.
Thank you.
I'll buy a book. my question is this: the newer chips, I believe, are getting more power efficient
Yes.
than they were, and I'm not sure what the term is. Efficiency of use, density of computing versus how much goes in. I think it's like 108, like the 108 units of power go in, and 100 are actually used for computing. I think. Is that correct? And what is that term called?
Yes. So the density is on the silicon wafers, how many of those individual binary circuits we can put into a chip, which is known as the density of the chip itself. But what you're also talking about is the chips are getting themselves more efficient in terms of the amount of power they need to draw to actually function. However, let me be clear that that efficiency curve needs to be put into the announcement that was made yesterday in Middlesex County, as an example. A $15 million data center is being built. It's the third one that's been announced in the greater South Central Pennsylvania. We were just on a panel a couple of weeks ago. I was with JT and some other folks talking about this. My biggest concern is that the amount of power and water that will be consumed. Now, we are lucky enough, and JT, I'm going to repeat what he said. He said, I don't have any concern about water supply. So there you go. So we're good on water. Check mark. Okay. We're really proud of their York Water. Okay. But I am super concerned about power. And I am pleased to see that in the State of the Union yesterday was some beginnings of hope that they're beginning to see this problem as politicians in Washington, and the idea that they're going to insist that data centers must generate sufficient power to actually power themselves. Because if they are not additive to the grid, we are going to have an enormous energy problem. Okay, our grid is not set up, no matter how efficient the chips, to do this. And there will be an ecological and utility harm if we're not careful.
Well, correct. But my add-on question to that is, FERC is going to resist this.
Yes.
The Federal Electric Regulatory Commission is going to resist because they get a cut.
Correct.
On the kilowatts that go into the grid.
Yeah.
So that's got to be worked out with the government officials. It's about money.
And it's got to be worked out by people in this room willing to have conversations about these kinds of impacts, because these are the things we should be talking to. And I think we have one question down here too. So maybe we take a quick one here and then wrap up.
At one point, it was my understanding that OpenAI was a nonprofit. And the question is, to what extent do you think governance of for-profit versus nonprofit, and how that would go forward? Obviously, for-profit is a return to the shareholders, and nonprofit maybe have other goals. What is your position on that, and where is that landscape?
So invite me back at some point if you want to have a fulsome conversation about this. But what I will say is this. There is absolutely no doubt that commercial interests now drive AI, because with a stroke of a pen on his election in January and his assumption of office, President Trump struck, using executive orders, all of the AI regulation previously. So we have a completely unregulated AI market that is driven by commercial interests, and we get what we deserve. And there is a fairly astute congressman from New York working today on trying to establish what could be the beginnings of some state level regulation. That's also at risk, because I do believe that the federal government sees this as an existential threat to the nation if it does not win the competitive battle, and it is prepared to allow economic interests to reign so that we do not lose the nation state. I think that has pros and cons, and I invite those conversations to happen at dinner tables. Call me. I'm always available for dinner. I'll bring the wine. Okay. There we go. One last question.
So you brought about the impact on workforce, and I don't know if this is a question, paradox, or just a stupid thought, but if AI puts out 75% of lawyers or any of the workforce, but still producing products and goods for people to buy, if we're all unemployed and have no money, does this economically cannibalize itself because we don't have jobs to buy what AI is making?
Only if we persist in believing that there will not be a substantial shift in our economic and taxation models, and there will be. So I touched on it briefly in my slide, but not in my presentation because of time. But there are several approaches you can use. You can use an robot head tax as an example. You could use a tax on the productivity improvements of AI. You could go to universal basic income. There's a million economic solutions, but it will absolutely change, because we're going to have a crushing demand for social services from unemployment and displacement. At the very same time, we have a crash in the amount of income tax paid by corporations and by individuals. So we are heading for an apex that the economists will tell you is not a good thing, But I'm also quite happy to say to Martin that I am not a socialist, but a proud capitalist. And I will tell you that I believe there are solutions under the capitalist system that can work, because the amount of potential economic gain generated by AI, if it is properly taxed and shared, will be life-changing. And I think that's a great place to stop. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much, James, for a thought-provoking conversation on artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. You've challenged us to move beyond the hype and fear surrounding AI and instead focus on governance, responsibility, and human judgment. You also reminded us that AI can accelerate efficiency and insight, but it cannot replace critical thinking, values, or community responsibility. I will say in that note that I ran my comments through AI today just to see, I feel like that is appropriate. So, I mean, use it, right? I still put my thoughts in there. So AI just makes me sound a little better. Anyway, so thank you so much for equipping us to lead thoughtfully in a rapidly evolving landscape and give us some good food for thought. So our speaker has signed a book to be donated to the YMCA's Early Learning Child Care Center, along with a bookmark made by students at Creative York, and it's My Octopus Arms. And next week, we will hear from York County Court of Common Pleas President Judge Michael Flannelly. He has been a York County Court of Common Pleas judge for over a decade and was recently elected to the position of president judge. He will be giving an overview of the York County judicial system and discussing the different areas of the bench along with the challenges and successes as to each area. He will also discuss wellness courts and his plans for the future. With that, this meeting is adjourned. We'll see you next week.